The Arena is one of them, former CEO of Hewlett-Packard and the author of the new book, Rising to the Challenge. Good morning,
Good
Carla.
morning, Joe. How are you doing?
It's good to see you. And you mentioned you've been coming on Squawk Box for 20 years.
1995, we did the spin out of Lucent. It was you and Mark Haynes and David Faber. So, wow, amazing 20 years. Doesn't feel like that.
You have to come back when we're gonna, if we ever celebrate 20 years, and we'll have to see.
Great.
More and more, Carla, it just seems like we talk past each other already this morning because, you know, we know about how divided the country is right now, but the one thing that we all want is for everyone to be able to have the opportunity that America is known to give people in terms of earning your success and prosperity and thriving and being happy. And Hillary supposedly wants that, and Jeb Bush supposedly wants that. But the ways of getting there are really different.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I've spent a lot of time in the last couple years, but particularly in the last several months, talking to Americans all across the country. And there is a huge gulf between people and government and the political class, a huge gulf. And whereas pundits in Washington, D.C. say to me, wow, you've never held elected office before, Americans say, yay, you've never held elected office before. There is a gulf, and it's not partisan. It's not political. People truly fear that we are losing the sense of limitless possibility that has always defined this nation. People don't feel possibilities in their lives anymore. And I agree with you. This has to be a nation where every American, regardless of their circumstances, feels that there are real possibilities in their lives for themselves, for their children, for their grandchildren. When we lose that sense of possibility, we lose the core of who we are.
And that's one of the, you know, we've talked to JB, and you know, perhaps Secretary Clinton needs to worry this time about, you know, being outflanked on the left. Maybe that's true. But for me, I feel like things have been divisive over the past 6 years. And instead of toppling the 1%, I'd like to turn the 1% into the 90. I'd like to turn the 99% into the 1%.
You know what's interesting to me? Look, the Democrats always talk about income inequality and crony capitalism. I agree fully with Elizabeth Warren. Crony capitalism is alive and well.
Right.
Big businesses and big government get together, and government gets so complicated that only big business can deal with it. I mean, we see it here. Dodd-Frank, what's the result? 10 banks too big to fail have become 5 banks too big to fail, and 3,000 community banks have gone out of business. Meanwhile, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have never been reformed. The truth is the policies that Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren are pushing make crony capitalism worse, make income inequality worse. California, a state I spent 12 years in, liberal state, the model of regulation under the Obama administration for the rest of the nation. 111 billionaires, good for them, and the highest poverty rates in the nation. Industry after industry after industry has been driven out of the state of California. The middle class has exited. Young families have exited. They're now destroying the agriculture industry. This is the consequence of big, complicated, powerful, corrupt government, which, of course, the Democrats want more of, not less of.
Even with JB, when we were talking, the one you got passionate about immigration, which I think it can be a bipartisan solution to immigration, because it's something that, you know, that will probably make it easier to succeed in terms of the private sector, because the private sector doesn't have all these talented people that we like. There's something there for everyone.
Well, you know,
but what would you do differently, Carl? I mean, would it be regulation? How would you grease the skids for job creation? What would we do? Let's
just back up for 1 second, because I think immigration is a classic case of where people in the political status quo of both parties, frankly, and tinkering around the edges for decades. Our legal immigration system has been broken for decades. We have 16 different visa programs. Half the people who are here illegally came on a legal visa and just overstayed. Nobody did anything about it. We let the wrong people in. We send the wrong people home. There's bipartisan agreement on that. And guess what? It's never been fixed, not by Republicans and not by Democrats. And I think one of the reasons that people respond to my candidacy is I say, look, management is about doing the best you can within the status quo. But we're at the point now where management isn't enough. We need leadership to change the status quo. Let's go fix the legal immigration system, for heaven's sakes. George W. Bush talked about comprehensive immigration reform. It failed. Obama talked about comprehensive immigration reform. It's failed. Meantime, The borders aren't secure, neither north nor south, and the legal immigration system remains broken. Let's go fix this. But it takes leadership.
Carly, one thing that strikes me is, as CEO of Hewlett-Packard, you were able to come in and really turn things around. You're able to do that, though, because you're the CEO and your word goes. In Washington, it's not that easy. You have these hundreds of congressmen who are running around, 100 senators, and all of them, you have to convince them to do things the way that you want to do them.
Yeah,
it would be a very different job in Washington.
Yes, although your analogy isn't quite accurate, as you know, because a CEO doesn't have the luxury of just saying, do it because I said so. You may remember I had a proxy battle. I had to convince every single shareholder to move ahead with a merger. You have to convince employees and customers. It's not just do it because I say so. But you're right. We have a Constitution that says we have co-equal branches of government. I think one of the opportunities here is to use technology to engage citizens in the process of government differently. So as an example, you know, in the federal government, it's a seniority system. So you can watch pornography all day long and earn the same pay, pension, and benefits as somebody who's trying to do a good job. We have no idea how our money is being spent. No idea. We don't have zero-based budgeting. What would happen if the President of the United States went out to the American people and said, you know, instead of voting for American Idol this week on your smartphone, I'd like you to vote on 2 questions. Number 1, do you think the federal government should go to a pay-for-performance system? Number 2, do you think we ought to know how our money's being spent? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. The American people would respond, and that helps put pressure on a political system because you're right. Congress responds to political